The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Miniature War Games with Battle Games magazine, and also by the generous donations of you, the listener. Thanks to everybody for their continued support. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 141. Open Combat Kickstarter, with hosts Neil Shuck and Mike Hobbs, and guests Carl Brown and Gavin Thorpe. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. I'm Neil Shuck. This was a bit of an ad hoc episode. Opportunity came up quite quickly, so it's one of these things we're going to dive almost straight into it. If you may remember, a couple of shows ago we spoke to Carl Brown and Gavin Thorpe all about new skirmish rules, open combat, which we really liked. And it was Mike's favourite game of last year, if I remember rightly. Anyway, they basically very quickly put together a Kickstarter for a new rulebook. And we wanted to have a chat with them all about it. And so that is today's show. The reason it's come out so quickly is simply because the Kickstarter isn't running for very long. It's only running until the 21st of March. And so we recorded this show about a week ago. And so it was really a case of record it, get it edited, get it out. Which is why this has appeared before the Sword and Spear show and what have you. Before we move on, I just want to give a quick shout out. A quick shout out to Keith. Keith very kindly donated to the show over the last week or so. So just want to say a huge thank you to Keith for the thought. Really appreciate it, mate. It really helps, keeps the wheel turning here. So, very kind thought. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be chatting with Carl and Gavin from Second Thunder. We're very pleased to welcome back, after a very short absence, to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast, the guys from Second Thunder, Carl and Gavin. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back, guys. Good to catch up with you again. Now, we're obviously chatting to you for a very specific reason. What have you gone and done?
In the previous conversations we had, I was saying that I knew Kickstarters were an option, and I was a bit reticent to commit to anything. But
you were going to grow the company nice and slowly. Do things a little bit at a time.
I was running numbers on various things and looking at print on demand and all of the rest of the options that were out there. And in the end, the numbers look like, well, if it will work, we'll give it a run and try Kickstarter. And I thought, but I'm going to keep it very contained and very focused, not one of these kind of massive, ever-expanding ones that's trying to go to the millions. This is a very focused project on one specific.
To get the rulebook in print.
That's what it's about. It's to move from digital into print, but in print in a quality that's up there, at the sort of top end of the market, alongside all the peers, really. All the other guys in the market that have got their sort of high level books on the marketplace.
Right. Okay. So just to kind of recap where you are at the moment, obviously you've been on sale since October.
Yeah, October. Yeah, Open Combat was released October 2014, purely in digital format. Still available in digital format. People have been getting it, and the sales are going well. It's going well.
So I was going to say, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well, and the feedback's really good. That's the most encouraging part. Is the people who are playing it are really enjoying it, and then spreading the word. So the actual the little snowball effect, if you like, is starting to take its sort of toll, and it's starting to sort of, the voices are starting to say things around the web, and people are starting to hear about it and all that kind of stuff. And I think, particularly now, that one of the hidden benefits, if you like, of Kickstarter is purely that as well. It's exposure. That's something I've noticed. I mean, I was aware of it anyway, but it's the whole other aspect of Kickstarters that I was a bit unsure of. The sort of expectations that you get with it. But yeah, moving from digital through to print's the key aim with this one, getting Open Combat onto the shelf, literally. Okay. And it's digital sales are going well, and the physical one at the moment seems to be hitting the right sort of mark for a lot of people who are looking at it.
Okay, so you say it's a limited scope. So you started the Kickstarter. Well, we're recording this on the 2nd of March, and you started the Kickstarter last Friday, didn't you?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, it's been going about 4 days, is it?
By accident on Thursday.
Yeah, it was a bit by accident. Yeah.
We put on Kickstarter by mistake.
Yeah, basically, I've been working on the page and all the background stuff to build it for several weeks, right. And I got it to the point where I thought, yeah, I think it's ready to go. And I kind of clicked through the kind of process on the back end, and thought, well, I wonder what that does. I was half expecting it to go into a kind of place where it sort of reviewed and things like that, but it went live, and it was like, all right, we're off.
I see.
So originally I'd planned on setting it going on the Saturday, so I kind of sort of took off a couple of days early. Well, first mover advantage and all that, I guess. There's a lot of Kickstarters that pop up over the weekends, so I guess it kind of gave it a little bit of traction prior to the weekend. Yeah, but it did. I mean, I just did one tweet, because literally it was my brother's birthday that night, so I did one tweet to say it's live, and then went off out, and then by the time I come back, stuff was happening, and it just
25% funded.
Yeah, 25% funded. It was accelerating at a silly pace, and I thought, wow, that was just off one tweet saying it's live.
Yeah, there was an awful lot of other tweets that went around the Twitterverse from that.
Tracking things down the following day when I was kind of a little bit more with it was like, wow, crikey, that started a bit of an avalanche.
Yeah, well, I must admit, because I remember having the conversation, because you were saying, oh yeah, we think it's going live. We think it's going live in the next couple of days, sort of thing. Yeah. And next thing I knew, I just did a search for the page and went, oh right, it's off. Oh right, okay. So at which point I went, okay, well in that case then I suppose I better put a news item up about it. Yeah. And but yeah, so yes, so.
B made me do it. I think whatever it was, something the forces conspired, and it just happened.
No, pressed the wrong button.
I rolled a 1. Yeah, lost the initiative. Okay, it's over to you guys. Off you go.
Yes, no jokes about premature or anything. Right. Okay. So despite the fact that you started early then. So, as I say, so we got a Kickstarter. What's the basic scope of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, well, essentially, for anyone that doesn't know about it, Open Combat's a skirmish game where you can use any miniatures that you like, and more importantly, you can stack them up in any way you like and make them do what you want. So it's been available, as we mentioned, since October last year in digital format. So it's PDF format. You can just download it, have it straight away. What I've always wanted to do is get it into print, because the print market, I think, is bigger in our industry. I think people like to have they like digital ones, but they like physical copies. We're a funny kind of breed of hobbyist, if you like. I personally prefer physical copies. I've got digital copies of various rule books, but I prefer physical copies. So, and also it does give us something physical to sell when we're at shows as well, which makes it a much better prospect from a business perspective.
It's a lot more visible, literally.
Yeah.
And you maybe had to get it into a store or on a stand at a show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, what as opposed to just kind of having to cart some sort of tablet around and kind of here it is. It's on this stick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going, okay, yeah.
You know, I mean, part of the Kickstarter is offering the bundle deal where you can get the digital and the physical as part of it, as part of one of the pledges, and that will continue post Kickstarter if it funds, and we've got a physical book in our hands. We'll still offer that kind of physical digital bundle, but having the physical products, it's kind of as I said in the previous time we were talking to you, it was. The plan has always been to go slow grow, move into physical, and then we'll have expansions and the various supplements that we do over time to support the core rules. Yeah. What simply this Kickstarter is doing is it's bringing forward getting the physical copy in, and depending on where things go, it could alter the content that's in the core system, not the core system, but within the core book itself, that gives a lot more sort of punch for the game itself for people to play with. So just in the core book. That's sort of moving on in various sort of stretch goals where it could end up.
So the basic book is 60 pages.
Yeah.
The current
PDF.
digital...
Yeah, the current digital is 50. I've expanded the content by 60 to help sort of expand some of the content within the book, a physical book.
That's softback.
Yeah, and the first target, the 5K target that we're aiming for, will be a softback, and then after that, then the stretch goals that are set up are to increase the quality of the book so that people's pledge levels don't change, but the quality of the finished product, and obviously in tandem with that, the retail value of it will then increase with it. So we move into hardback, and then we move into the way that the actual print on the inside end covers, the finish, the actual laminates and things on the finish. So you end up with a kind of premium product, but at the pledge levels, you're actually getting it at softback level almost, aren't you, essentially? So you're actually getting anyone who pledges will be getting, hopefully, if it moves on, goes beyond and through the stretch goals, will be getting a premium hardback book at the level of for 15 quid, plus your shipping. So and what then that does is it gives us a very good product on the shelf that it's tangible. People have got that kind of product in their hands, and it's a good thing on itself. I mean, something that I'm going to be looking at is the photography and all that kind of stuff as well, to make sure as it's got that eye candy that we all like to have, inside it, which is the beauty of the system as well, because it uses it allows you to use whatever you like. So players can do what they want with it, and they see miniatures from any range, they can use them. It's that kind of system.
Yeah, because I noticed on a couple of comments that were on at the start of the Kickstarter that some people were kind of asking, well, hang on a second, you already produce a PDF.
Yeah.
What's the difference between this and simply doing a print on demand on the PDF?
Yeah, the print on demand. I mean, I think Mike mentioned it before about print on demand as well when we spoke to you last time. There are benefits to that. They really are. And I did look at it quite seriously for a month or so when I was looking at the numbers and looking at what kind of product you get out of it. And it's a fine standard of print that you get from them. But it's not the same as a high level hardback book. And that's the vision I had when I was looking at going into print and having the stock. Yeah, that's the other thing. Print on demand doesn't give you stock. I know you can buy additional copies, but from a growth of a business perspective, the margins that you start to work at there are very small. So it's very difficult to reinvest into your business if you're basing your product on print on demand. Whereas if you've funded a reasonable print level, not only can you control the print quality and have a high level of print quality, but also you can develop a kind of stock level that has margins in it that allow you to reinvest in the business to continue to support the product in the future. So that drives then the development of the company. So there's a lot of things that are kind of nitty gritty, crunchy kind of businessy kind of things that are behind it that are the reason for going that way. Traditional kind of go in, commit to buying a certain level of copies of book and do it that way rather than doing it the print on demand way. It's that kind of. It's a risk, obviously. There's always a risk.
But longer term, it's just a better foundation going forward, I think.
Yeah,
it's that kind of long term building a business rather than just kind of trying to get a project out, if you see what I mean. this is we're committed to something long term, which is why I know several people have asked, are you going to do this for a later stretch goal or these add-ons and things within the comments at the moment on the Kickstarter? I mean, it's only a very young one, but the comments are brilliant. I mean, the guys, anyone listening now that's actually on it, thanks very much for getting involved in the commentary, because it's really useful from my point of view. But there's quite a few people asking, are there going to be stretch goals that are adding additional kind of supplements in so that people can up their pledge levels and get those? And I've said that we have got the plan to put supplements into the game, but we're not going to put that through this Kickstarter. This Kickstarter is very much focused on getting the core book done, and there may well be additional content within the core book, so it becomes a better product in itself off the back of it, but we're not going to add in loads of extra add-ons which then skew the pledge level and actually have quite a huge impact on your kind of financial planning.
Completely undermine what you've got.
Yeah, and it can kind of leave you on very rocky footing just to deliver. So I'm very much kind of controlling it quite tightly, just to, and I'm aware that does limit the scope of how high it will go, but that's fine as long as it actually is, everybody gets a great product at the end of it, and the business is stable off the back of it as well, which is the most important thing, and it's all good, And
the thing is, if you've got a successful Kickstarter, and this is one, because it's an existing rule book, there will be changes to turn it into a print version. There will be some expansion, and hopefully, if it does well, even a bit more expansion than is already planned.
Yeah.
But basically, it's still a fairly quick delivery. It's going to be delivered July. And most Kickstarters you won't see for another year. So this is, there's nothing saying come July there won't be another Kickstarter for a supplement or something. Not promising that, or that's I haven't thought that far ahead, but rather than just lumping everything into one big tub and then letting it all fall out at some point, it's much more controlled, just to take each project as it comes and
so
sort of manage your levels, manage your expectations, and essentially deliver. That
was the key thing as well, is I didn't want a project that was going to be promise, and the delivery date's 2 years down the line, and then have to handle that somehow for 2 years. I'd rather set out something that's got a controlled scope and make sure as it delivers within a few months, so everybody gets their kind of rewards for backing us and getting us off the ground in the first place, because essentially that's what it is. People are pledging for something that, yes, it's an existing game, people are already downloading it and playing it, and you're putting us into print, which is a massive deal from a business point of view. It's a massive deal, moving us that step further along the road in the development of the business, and the reward for that is getting a quality product in a reasonable time frame for a price which is much lower than its retail value. That's the benefit to backing it, if you see what I mean. And you get a great game. That's kind of almost.
Well, exactly.
That's the thing.
A lot of Kickstarters will offer things like beta play tests and all that kind of stuff. Well, the fact is, if you want to download the PDF and play the game, you can give your feedback already. Yeah. So all your ideas. So it's kind of a lot of the pledge levels and add-ons and stuff that you get in a lot of the bigger projects just don't apply here. We didn't want to do T-shirts and tankards. There's a few little cool things that would be great to add on afterwards, but again, they're a completely different process from just making the book. Yeah,
quite a few people have asked for minis, and I'm a massive, huge fan. I've got millions of minis, and I love minis, and I've actually got quite a lot of conceptual work that's there ready to produce miniature ranges at some point, but that is not what this Kickstarter's about. So it's a whole different production process as well, with all its own kind of little elements to it that would just distract and take the focus away from what you're doing, and it's that distraction that's a danger to delivery, and I don't want to risk doing any of that when it's all about delivering a great product to people.
And you don't need them to play the game.
Because everybody's got the miniatures.
The whole point is you've already got the miniatures, or you can buy them whatever you want. So waiting however long, because
it's a funny environment. I mean, it's the experience I'm going through now. It's quite a very different one from when we spoke last time, because last time was all about getting it out there and letting people understand what the game was about. Now it's actually all about sort of making sure it's almost like I'm seeing a different side of myself now, because I'm having to sort of screw myself down and be more business minded in this particular instance, because you're taking the responsibility to deliver on someone's pledge to you, and to make sure that you deliver on their faith in you to deliver. So I've got over 20 years experience in working in print, so I'm on complete rock solid ground when it comes to this, which is another reason for keeping it very tightly controlled, is that if I start to sort of veer off onto other aspects of the hobby that would help support it and would be great, and there's an awful lot of exciting things that I could quite happily get involved in, it's not where my core experience is. And for this first sort of Kickstarter that I'm involved in, I want to make sure as I'm working within absolutely rock solid parameters, so that what's delivered is exactly what it's supposed to be. And this is all when it's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, this is all kind of very much kind of down to earth kind of thinking now, rather than going too crazy. While all this is going on underneath, I mean, this is all under the bonnet stuff for you, if you like. These kind of conversations are very much what's going on under the bonnet of the car. On the outside, we're still working on all the kind of cool sort of development stuff for the game, and all the supplements and things. I mean, that's one thing that this has put on hold. You mentioned earlier, it's like, what effect has it had? It did put on hold the kind of release structure that I was going to work to based on purely digital releases. The Swordsman expansion, which was getting very close to being finalised, that's had the brakes put on it while the Kickstarter's running. But it's something that once if the Kickstarter is successful and we've got the book to print and everyone's got that, then the sort of process of then bringing the supplements back online is very quick, because there may well be funding in place or that I can reinvest to actually do a sort of a physical release and a digital release of the supplements at the same time, rather than just doing it purely digital. So that that there are. It depends how the Kickstarter goes. These are all kind of where we get to. So at the moment, it's very much focused on getting the book into print, and initially softback. Hopefully, we get to hardback, and then a high quality hardback, and potentially add additional content in. That's the where we add additional scenarios. And one of the other things that, I mean, we've briefly mentioned it within the Kickstarter comments section, is that people have been asking about campaigns and things, and we talked about it previously on the previous Kickstarter, and that was something that we were planning on keeping absolutely completely separate, but we think we've worked ways. Yeah, we kind of think we've got that. We can work something in there, a universal system,
an advancement system.
Yeah, an advancement system, a universal one that will be appropriate to put in the core book, which allows people to play the way they want to play. Because I know there's an awful lot of people that want to do it. That's what skirmish games are about for a lot of people, is that kind of ongoing advancing and you guys getting injured and all that kind of stuff. But there are an awful lot, and something I mentioned on one of the updates recently was that there are an awful lot of ways of approaching campaigns in particular. And that's something that still is still applicable to what we're thinking, is that you can have a lot of supplements that handle campaigns in lots of different ways, so that you're not necessarily doing a win-loss ratio to see who's the best player in the league kind of thing. It's playing those, the beach landing. I mean, we were talking about it before, like an invasion force beach landing, and then the games that you're playing are almost a narrative thread between them, as it's the one force is invading a country and the other force is kind of fighting that retreat or kind of trying to repulse them or whatever it is.
And true to kind of what we've always been saying about a lot of the content for the rulebook and the supplements as examples or fun, cool stuff, is even if we do get to the point where there's an advancement sort of campaign system in the rulebook, that's not going to be the only one.
Yeah.
There will be other supplements later which show you different ways to play and different ways to connect your games together or advance your warbands or whatever. So that we can keep with that ethos of you picking you designing the rules, you designing the warbands, and in this case, doing a modular system for you design the campaigns as well.
Yeah, so you can run campaigns the way you want to run them, using whichever optional supplement you want to run with. Plus, if you play regularly, regular campaigns, you may have one session where you have a period where you're playing campaigns that's based on territories, and it's players are fighting over territories and gaining territories and the benefits of having those territories under your control and all that kind of thing. Another time, you may just want to be purely working on the basis of literally financial reward. Your warbands are trying to get their glory through fortune hunting, essentially, or whatever it is. And it depends on the theme of the.
Or it's more knockdown, drag out, last man standing.
Yeah, or there are so many variants that you can do to campaigns that the sort of future of open combat. There are, there's. I don't like using the word infinite because it kind of it's very big, isn't it? It's infinite, but there is an awful lot of kind of potential routes for supplements and things to keep the game supported into the future. So it's that, and from our perspective, because we're not driving a game based on miniature sales or anything like that. We're actually supporting all the other miniature companies out there because anybody can use whatever miniatures they want. The content of the releases and the support materials all through the sort of the optional rules and the skills and things like that, which are all kept in that modular basis, so that they're not stamping down on everyone and saying you've got to play it this way if you're going to use Romans. It's, if you want to do this, this is the Roman one, and you can pick and mix your kind of skills and build things. And it's like a toolkit approach still, even if we're giving you a themed supplement. So it doesn't. We're not going to release lists as supplements. It's not like army lists. It's more extra.
How to take it to the next level for this particular thing.
Yeah, it kind of, and from a barbarian's perspective, for instance, or whatever it is, I know people, as soon as the Conan one was like, you doing the barbarian one? It made me laugh, because I've been looking at doing the Antols, because I've been seeing so many cool figures. The Steve Sellers, is it Steve Seller does Lucy Die? Is it? I think.
Yeah.
God, they're great. Those minis look fantastic. But anyway, the routes to take. I mean, for instance, if you were going to do stuff for natives fighting, you can just put a few little mechanisms in there where, well, it's only these weapons that are available in this particular campaign fighting with natives or whatever, and these are the big wild beasts that they're fighting, and it creates a whole different texture to play your games within, but also gives you a lot of options for playing in standard games, if you like, where somebody turns up with one warband of, I don't know, dwarves, and suddenly he's got a load of kind of cave dwellers that are coming piling out and having a set to with them, and you can just create the games that you want to play and create the narratives that you want to create as well. So it's from the future of the game perspective, it's all about this Kickstarter gets the grounding and the foundation in place, so that we expand the player base. So there's lots more players who are aware of the game and that can play it and also get a physical book. And also we can obviously expand that through the shows that we go to and hopefully get into retail. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But by doing that, we create that kind of ground swell of player base that then will help us to sort of
sustainability,
to sustain the game, and keep putting things in. And we're aware that I'm painfully aware that I'm a bottleneck on a lot of things because of where we're at. So investing in the business and growing the business in a controlled fashion is really important, because then it can expand in a controlled way and hopefully start to gain traction through the back of this and allow us to sort of generate that kind of content that people want, because there's so much stuff that people want, like magic systems, the monsters and things like that. Chariots. I can't wait to do chariots myself. It's just going to be brilliant. I've got so many cool things to do with that chariot. So I've already got some of them written down. But anyway, no, we're going to
ask a question.
Stop us rambling, please. We're doing it again.
Trying to for the last 10 minutes.
We've been waiting for you to take a breath.
You need a little bell to end round one or something.
I did warn you about the alarm, didn't I?
You did?
Yeah.
It's not working. I'm not hearing it.
That's because I was downstairs making a cup of coffee.
You just had a couple of pints, haven't you? That's right.
I've got loads of figures painted in the last 10 minutes. Right.
Send some of mine round to your house when we're having these conversations.
Yeah. Okay, get back to the Kickstarter and go a bit more detail into this. So, like you say, it's to get the book published.
Yeah.
End of. And you've been entirely sensible about it. There's no feeding frenzy. I mean, this is not normal, Carl.
Yeah. I mean that in itself, because there's a couple of Kickstarters going on at the moment, that have limited scope.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting seeing the comments that are flying around, because obviously a standard Kickstarter is, we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and then and
we'll put egg on top.
Well, yes, quite, and we've seen. So obviously, Conan's the most.
The minis are gorgeous in that, didn't they? Absolutely, the creative team behind that are fantastic. Absolutely,
yes. But that was one of those things that that just kind of hit the roof and kept going.
Yeah,
and to a great extent, especially as board gamers. I mean, you look at board games. Look at some, like what's happening with Thunderbirds at the moment, for example, and stuff like this. People have got used to Kickstarters running in a particular way.
Yeah.
One of those ways is not, this is all we're doing.
It's doing something different again, is it? Really?
So actually turn around and say, no, all we're doing is, our plan is we're doing this. So what you're actually looking for is, okay, this is the scope of the project. And it's really interesting seeing how people are reacting to that, because you've got some people who kind of go, yeah, which are kind of on board and kind of go, yeah, fine, okay, great, I can back that.
Yeah.
There's other people who are kind of going, well, first off, where's the benefit? What's in it for me? Where's my free stuff?
Yeah.
Which I know already. I mean, on another podcast, which we'll actually all hear after this one. We end up having a bit of a discussion rant on Kickstarters and entitlement issues.
Yeah.
So that's all to look forward to, people. But
I look forward to listening to that one when I'm painting my figures.
But yes, so this whole thing of saying, okay, well, have a limited scope, people really aren't used to, and as I say, it's interesting to see how people react, and also from your point of view, what sort of pressures people start putting on you to say, well, hang on a second, where else are you going to go with this?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally appreciate people, anyone looking at Kickstarters and thinking like, where are the freebies and things like that. I mean, as it is, if you're pledging for Open Combat, the printed edition, you're getting it a much, particularly if it gets through to hardback, because the retail value will increase at that point. You're getting a much lower price than I'll be able to do it after, if it's once it's funded. And it goes into general release, if you like. After that, then the retail price will be what the retail price is. And then once you add shipping on as well, for anyone ordering it from overseas, it's actually quite high level at that point. But if you go through the Kickstarter route and you buy and it gets the hardback, and once you add the shipping in there, you're getting it a lot lower than you would get it post Kickstarter. So it's the benefit there is actually by getting in early. It's not a pre-order in the traditional sense, but it's your by pledging. The benefit of pledging is that you get a great product. This is all basing it on it funding. I have no idea what it's on at the moment. Actually, while we're talking, but while basing it on the on the basis that if it funds, then it gets to the hardback version, then anyone who's backed it, particularly international orders, are going to be getting it at a reduced rate anyway. So that should it hit market later, retail market, and we're selling it through the site later, the cost of it and what it goes out for and it's shipped and things like that there is a big benefit to backing it and pledging it, because you're just saving quite a chunk at that point. And I know it's very different to others because you're not getting a load of free figures on it, but at the same time, or whatever. But
I've got I mean I've got a bit of a Kickstarter bug, but luckily I've generally avoided it with miniatures, and I've only done 3 really big Kickstarters, which was the Ares Games Sales of Glory one, where I dropped a ton on that, and the Cthulhu Wars one, which arrived, the box set arrived not long ago, and I'm waiting for another expansion.
I was staggered when I saw the box size on that, and then it's like, well, the box is this big because you get these.
Because these are 180mm tall. Yeah, I was awesome. But anyway, but I also loved doing like the micro games, and there's a couple of role-playing games. If you look at miniatures Kickstarters, they're an anomaly. If you look at role-playing Kickstarters, they do what we're doing here, which is you get a book. You might get a nice book. You might get some extra art. That's the stuff that the level they're playing at.
I noticed that.
And I think, and that's when I've been talking to Carl about Kickstarters and what appeals to me and things. There's some people who like the simplicity. Some of the Kickstarters I've backed have turned into a complete nightmare. I've had to try and manage and try and work out what I'm pledging and what I'm doing and how much am I getting for, and hang on, they've especially the one particular one really drove me nuts because they kept changing actually what the pledge levels were for, and then emailing me and saying, for an extra $5 you get this, and I was just like, but I just want to pay my money and then go away and not have to worry about it. That's whereas other people get really involved in that kind of stuff. So this is one of the easy ones. Pays your money, and then in July you get a big fancy rule book.
Which is a lot cheaper than everybody else is going to be getting it once it goes to retail. And essentially that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's a very different approach, I guess, because of it's almost like the accepted norms, isn't it? And I think we had this conversation previously about Open Combat itself. Is that there's a lot of pressure on why haven't you done sample lists of what's a sample list, what's a norm, and what's a and we don't want to do that because that's up to the players. The players can do that. We can. I mean, I've kind of had conversations on the Kickstarter page, the commentary, and I will be introducing kind of, here's what someone's done for this particular thing, and here's what someone's done for this particular thing. So there will be samples within the book, or the digital version, or both the book and digital version after the Kickstarter. Once I sort of readdress it, there will be examples of them, but there'll be more examples of what people have done in the context of their games and in the context of their warbands. It won't be saying, this is a Roman Legionnaire, this is a, I don't know, an orc fanatic or whatever it is. It's I'm not going to go that route, but I will show examples. And that's one, I mean, that was a conscious decision on our part. And even though we know that the accepted wisdom is that you give everyone lists, it's not the way we want to do it. It's just because other people do it doesn't mean you have to do it. You know, it's all right. I think Gavin's just trying to wave a picture at me to show me how much it's on at the moment, just to let me know where it is. The other thing is, so from the Kickstarter's perspective, I was aware of the potential pressures surrounding it, of what the expectations are, you know, on the basis of what other people are doing. And, you know, I can't speak for other people's Kickstarters because I've no idea the planning and the, you know, the prior investment and the external investment those companies have before they get the Kickstarters running, because there's obviously clearly an awful lot of investments that's gone into a lot of those games and things that launch on Kickstarter prior to the Kickstarter taking off, because of this sheer volume of material that they've produced beforehand. That's come from somewhere, and that's going to have taken a lot of external or internal.
Or somebody's expecting a really big payday later.
Somebody's expecting a giant payday later, yeah. But yeah, there's an awful lot of work that goes into them. So there's a lot of financial clout that goes into those, generating that. Now, Second Thunder's in its infancy, and I simply am not in a position where I can generate that kind of all singing, all dancing, you know, lots of options of this, that, and the other Kickstarter approach. So I've had to keep it very controlled and very focused, and you know, and work with it within the framework of what I can control, if you like, and I mean that in the sense of, you know, from a responsibility point of view. I feel, I mean, it's one of those things, I can feel as things are going on and people ask questions, I can feel that little bit of sense of excitement of, yeah, we can do this, yeah, we can do that, but I keep having to rein myself back, because that's incredibly dangerous from a, you know, a financial responsibility point of view. So it's that, keep it focused, make sure as you're successful and it's done properly, and then, you know, you can always do another thing later on. You know, we're not trying to win everything, you know, win the entire universe and have the biggest Kickstarter on the planet in one go. We're trying to get a book into print. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, currently, you're definitely doing the right way, because you are being very upfront with what you want to do. The one thing that I didn't pick up on, I didn't even think about it, was the fact that the extra sort of stretch goals that are there are going to add value to the actual end product. So it might be worth sort of stressing that in possibly in one of the updates.
Yeah,
you know, basically say that, you know,
yeah,
if it goes to hardback, this means that the retail price is going to be going up by X number of pounds, but you're getting it.
If it's hardback, the retail value switches to £25. I think that's what that's kind of my instinctive kind of position. I'll have to run the numbers because it depends on the print quantity and all of that stuff.
And all that. But that's worth stressing, because that gives people something to aim for. You know, they are getting that premium product, which I just didn't think about.
Yeah, it is. I think it's mentioned on a little sentence somewhere, isn't it? And it is. You're right. It's something I've got to address at a future update. But there's
get it funded first, and then we can talk about the implications of the stretch goals.
The implications of the stretch goals are, you know, that's where you start to. I mean, it is a very different animal, like you say. It's a very different animal to what other Kickstarters are out there. But it's because it's a very focused on one thing, and making sure that one book product that you're producing through the Kickstarter is as good as you can possibly make it. And it'd be very easy to sort of split your attention across many of them just to up the pledge levels from individuals. But I'd rather have, because this is about growing and expanding the reach of the game as well, I'd rather have a lot of backers on a single focused product than a small number of backers with loads of options, because immediately you get into strange positions of quantities when it comes to print runs and things like that, because it's, you know, the higher quantity you can do a print run, the better benefit there is in the long term for the business and for the actual, you know, the final retail price as well, because your retail price doesn't have to be quite so high. So it's all those sort of things that you're juggling when doing these, that you don't, I think, as a, you know, thinking of myself when I'm on the other side of the fence, when I've backed Kickstarters in the past and I'm looking at it, you don't see the number crunching that's going on underneath. But from our perspective now, when we're, you know, behind the desk and actually doing the number crunching. It's keeping it focused is a much stronger way of building it going forward, and ensuring you're protecting the investment of people getting into a game and the supplements that you can produce later. You're protecting that, and you're taking responsibility for looking after them. That's the key. So I'd rather. I'm aware that it's limited by the number of backers that it gets. That's very much where we're at. Is that the more backers that join us, the more stretch goals we go through. It's not the more add-ons we add, the higher the pledge level gets to break stretch goals. It's a very different.
That's really, really interesting, honestly, because I've got to say that this one has actually passed the record for me, because this is the Kickstarter that I pledged the least amount of money on.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing that was in my mind, is it's not going to break the bank. A lot of them are 100 and 150 quid, aren't they, to get everything? Yeah. And it's like, well, that's actually quite a big spend,
$10.
Really? Was that one of the micro games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those actually pay what you think as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of from our perspective as a in inverted commas, a games company. I know we're kind of tiny small at the moment, but and it's just me. Gavin's just the kind of guy that keeps hitting me with a stick. But from the perspective of this is very much a kind of testing ground as well. Is the whole process, testing the process of Kickstarter and how it works, as to whether it's viable for future things that we have, because we're quite big on micro games, aren't we? We really like the kind of self-contained little micro games, and we've got an awful lot that are, we mentioned previously on the previous time we were with you that we have got other games. Open Combat isn't the only game, but I mean, from my perspective, I think Open Combat's probably going to eat the first 2 years of the company development. I mean, there'll be a few little drop-ins that we can do, but we've got to keep the focus on supporting Open Combat and letting it roll forward. And maybe there'll be external writers that can support it once it's got some grounding and there's some sort of framework to how the releases are structured and things. Because that's the thing. That's the beauty of something like Open Combat, is it fires people's imaginations, and you can see it. I mean, what I'm loving seeing is people's little think, I can do this with these figures, I can do this with these figures, and you can see the little stories that are going on in their head, and you can see their imagination starting to fire. And it's at that point, when they actually start playing the game on a regular basis, they'll start to think, like you do with skirmish games, we could do this, and we could do this with barrels, or we could do this, and they add the little details and those little rules that little, like yourself, Mike, you did those special rules for your own playing with Asterisk. Those little special rules that you add in, well, all of that could, if you've written that for yourself, I'm just thinking for any players now, it's like, if you've written something for yourself and you're really enjoying it, there'll probably be other guys that play skirmish games, share it, and it's at that point where further down the line, I know I'm a bottleneck when it comes to writing, and Gavin be, if there's 2 writers supporting a game, that's a bottleneck. So further down the line, we'd be looking to other writers to help support the game. But again, this is much further down the line, because we've got to get into print first, and we've got to get things moving first. I mean, this is all, talking about the business as a whole, really, rather than, focusing on just the Kickstarter. We have waffled a bit, haven't we, again? But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of position it is, the Kickstarter's position, and the reason it's kept controlled and in a sort of smaller, narrower focus, if you like.
Yeah. So currently we've got two basic pledges.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got, I think is it £15? I'm just kind of thinking. The early birds have all gone now, isn't it? So I think it's £15 for the core book, and then there's, what's the next level? Is it 22? 22. Yeah, it's 22 quid for the book and digital bundle for people who haven't got either at the moment. And if people go for the bundle, if they've not previously got the digital copy, I can. Once the pledge levels have all been done and say the Kickstarter's a success and everybody's been paid and they've all gone through all that process, I can then release the existing current current digital edition to the people that have backed it for the bundle level, with the caveat that if the Kickstarter has gone through processes of gaining additional content, obviously that will be updated when the final version is produced further down the line. So they can have the existing one that everyone's got at the moment as soon as the Kickstarter is over, if they back the bundle offer. But after that, they will be getting the updated one, just like everyone else who's already got the PDF. That's the other thing I'd like to stress, is that the existing PDF, to sort of thank them all for backing it in the infancy of the digital edition, way back in October and right through till now. even if the Kickstarter goes through stretch goals that adds additional content, for instance, an advancement system later, or additional scenarios and things, which is essentially changing the content of the product very significantly from what it is at the current iteration. Everyone that's got the digital edition will get that updated version when it's released, just as a thank you for supporting it to get the business to this point, or get the game to this point. So it's just the 2 pledge levels. It's the physical book at 15 and the bundle book and digital edition at 22, I think it is.
It might be worth dropping out into the FAQs on the Kickstarter site as well.
I need to sort of look at the FAQ bit, because that doesn't actually. The bit I didn't realise is that didn't open up until the Kickstarter's live, and since then I've been going at 100 miles an hour. I haven't got bad. I can actually fill in a bit for the frequently asked questions. But shipping and things like that is something I got material again from Royal Mail, which is kind of the numbers. I've got to go through the numbers and get that sort of worked out and put either an update up tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on when I've shuffled through the numbers and worked it all out properly. Because that's, again, with a moving target, with content and things, it's like, well, how heavy is it going to be? I think I've got it all worked out, and I'm going to have a chat with the printers and just check what where it would likely end up being a print size, just so that I can make sure everything's quite clear as quickly as possible for people backing, because everybody wants to know what the shipping's going to cost.
Yeah.
But either way, even with the shipping included, you're getting it better than you would post Kickstarter if it wouldn't. That's the key thing. That's your benefit, if you like. And you're getting it earlier than everyone else, because it won't go on retail until everybody else has got their copies. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. Can you buy multiple copies through the Kickstarter?
I guess you can through the way you pledge, can't you?
Yeah,
how it works.
Yeah. There's nothing specific in there. It might be worth adding a note, actually. I've done like this, which was basically. If you just pledge multiples of the amount and the shipping.
I'd have to probably do something with the shipping's a tricky one, because I think I'd have to kind of work out what the shipping would be there, because the way that shipping works, particularly internationally, domestically and internationally, is that it's up to certain weight bands, and once you start to add multiple copies into a single package, the weight band is obviously demolished, and you start to swing it into much higher shipping costs. So,
and the old classic thing of as soon as you go over 2 kilos, going anywhere. Yeah, postage costs just rocket.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things, isn't it? And that's another reason, actually, for keeping things quite tightly controlled so that it's delivered quick. Because if you don't deliver things quickly, you're open to the fluctuations in the marketplace, in the shipping marketplace. Those prices change. And I know Royal Mails change usually every April, don't they? So,
Reaper got stung or something, didn't they?
Yeah, Reaper's first bones, I think the shipping charges from the States virtually tripled, I think, in the space of time that it, between it finishing and delivering, which, I thought that was very brave of them. It's fantastic because they've delivered everything. I was really sad that I didn't get on the second the second bones one. I've been seeing everybody getting their stuff, and it's just ace.
That could be something you could possibly.
Brilliant.
So I was just going to say, that could be something, if you do want to control it might be something you do drop in as an add-on, like add an extra hardback book.
Yeah.
For, £16 or £15.
It's tricky.
It is a really tricky one, but
It's the weight bands. It's so tricky to do.
Yeah, I think what you do, the easiest way to do it, although you might end up paying a little bit over the odds for the shipping as a backer, is just the same as a lot of them do, which is you just do a multiple. So although it's £3 in the UK, it'll be £6 if you want 2 copies, £9. It probably won't actually come to that, but it's the easiest way to make sure you're not getting screwed on the shipping, really.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, it'll still end up cheaper than retail price anyway.
It's like you said, it's a very different approach. It seems to be a bit of a habit we've got, and it's completely accidental, really. I think it's just doing it the way that we believe in, rather than following the crowd, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, to be honest, the reason I asked is because a friend of mine wants to get the book, but he's not on Kickstarter, and I was sort of saying, I did sort of thought, well, I could just add another £16 and get a second book into mine, but then I thought, hang on, is that doable?
Yeah, well, I think there must be some way post Kickstarter where they kind of, they must do it.
A lot of people do. A lot of people use sort of backer kits, so they don't actually include postage now.
Right.
Obviously, Yeah, because obviously by putting the postage on early as part of the Kickstarter bit, you lose a percentage of the postage fee to the Kickstarter company.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it is. It's something that I realised after it started running. I was thinking that there's actually quite an interesting number element in there when you start to put it in. Is there is a percentage that gets dropped off, which it's all part of the tricky balancing act of running these things. It really is a kind of lesson in accountancy almost. Aside from all the cool stuff that you're doing, it's like in the back end of it, there is a lot of number crunching going on.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge discussion on
play games. That's what you want to. No, it's and that is it. I mean, a lot of people have been asking about campaigns, and a lot of people have been asking about monster rules and all that kind of stuff. And it is stuff that I'm going to cover in future updates within the Kickstarter. All along, we've always said that we're going to be sorting it with supplements. So a lot of the material that people are asking about, like magic and rules for monsters and all that kind of stuff, that is supplemental material because it keeps the core rules universal. But even then, that supporting material will follow the same principles that the core book has, which is it's that flat approach where it's 1 point of renown and you get this ability, 1 point of renown you get that ability, and it's an abilities pick and mix kind of thing, so you can create the monsters that you want with the abilities that you want, or whatever it is that the magical abilities are based on a similar approach, so that essentially it's throughout the whole lot, whether it's the core book or the supplements, the experience is the same, but you're getting a different timbre to the games, if you like, a different tone to the games, because you've got all these cool different new abilities. But the actual process that you go through building your warband and all that kind of stuff, you've still got that complete control. There won't be lists of this is a Minotaur, this is a troll, this is whatever. There won't be lists like that. We may show examples of, this is how we've done this one. This is like a berserk one. This one's not a berserk one. This is a rather weedy looking ogre. It's like that because who's to say? This is kind of
style troll.
This is fantasy. In the fantasy context, it's fantasy gaming. You can do it what you want to do. It's your kind of narrative that you're creating. And from a historical point of view, I've said it several times, is that people are very different. People are different, and we're not the same. None of us are. You put people toe to toe fighting, they are going to be very different to each other, even in the same army. So it's that kind of keeping that ability to do what you want to do with the game is really important, and that's what's going to be the sort of flavour that flows through the whole process of supplements and things. Similarly, as Gav's mentioned, the campaigns is that there'll be that kind of pick and mix approach with campaign supplements. You can play these kind of campaigns, you can play these kind of campaigns, you can play whichever ones you like, and having that broad structure will allow people to sort of find the way they want to play. And obviously, they'll pick and mix it themselves and create their own environments that they want to play in. It's one of the best parts of these kind of games. You can literally make them what you want them to be. Yeah. And he's telling you you're wrong because you're not. It's your game. You can play it the way you want to play it. There's no net listing in that sense.
Have you thought about doing some work with a existing miniatures company to release a sort of like branded, almost like, I don't want to say sub campaign. I'm sort of thinking, remember the old D&D campaigns that you used to be able to buy? The old
so like keeping the Borderlands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I just wondered if you sort of thought about working with somebody like.
There's a very different, again, once you start getting into miniatures or even particularly with fantasy, but even artwork and stuff beyond a certain point, not using other people's stuff, you're creating an IP, and that's a very different company to one that's selling a set of rules.
Yeah, that's
true, yeah.
And so again, it's not something that is necessarily never going to happen for Second Thunder, or I've written enough fantasy worlds, but it's not the point right now.
Yeah,
because the onus then becomes selling those miniatures.
Yeah,
not selling a game, and games companies, miniatures companies are not the same kind of beast. And the way they operate, the way you, not even necessarily the way you write the rules and stuff, but just what you're thinking about, what your priorities are, and where you make your money is different between a games company and a miniatures company.
I have got. I've mentioned before, I've got concepts for ranges of miniatures that are in the back of my mind for the future, but they won't be tied down. It's more like the boutique miniature sculptors that you have now, where they're producing models that are not related to a game, but they're really cool models that you could use in any game, which happen to be appropriate for open combat, because you could pick any of the miniatures that you want, whether it's part of an existing IP or whether it's part of just a small boutique sort of sculptor that's producing their own material. And I think that's probably, if I did do a miniature range, it would be a miniature range that could be used in any way you like. Yes, it would be, I think, clearly would be associated with open combat because it came from Second Thunder, but it wouldn't necessarily be branded as open combat. It would be branded in its own sense as a miniature range, a bit like that, many moons ago, before everything got quite so commercial as it is now, all these years later, where it used to be, you used to just buy fighters or barbarians or dwarves or whatever it was, or guys with spears. You just used to buy quite generic things, but with the way modern sculpting is and the way that the modern design is and the modern production values, you can create some absolutely fantastic models just looking at what the creatives are doing now all over. They're absolutely beautiful models, and as Gav said, a lot of them, you're starting to get into tying things into IPs there. I think if Second Thunder did miniatures, in that sense, the ranges would be, as much as we'd own them, they would again be archetypes, if you like, and it'd be my take on archetypes. Now, I'm not saying that there may at some point be IP related product lines. There could well be. I mean, we've often talked about developing worlds and things, and it's another thing entirely to what Open Combat's about. Open Combat is about literally open gaming. You do your own thing in the way you want to do, and we're not sort of setting the limits on it for you. Whereas once you start developing IPs, you're creating an environment and a narrative through what you're creating, and you're kind of steering people through that internal narrative, if you like. Which is all great fun.
That whole thing is way down the line. It's not where you are at the moment. And
no, not at all. I mean, so one of the questions I got on the Kickstarter was, are you going to do any other ages in this sort of sense, in an open combat sense? And quite early on, I know very early on that some of the guys from Norfolk were asking if there was going to be a sci-fi version, and I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and I have got the sort of preliminaries of a kind of sci-fi game that follows the same approach that Open Combat takes, but it's a very different animal in the sense that you're starting to talk about high-powered futuristic weapons and things. So you're not playing on a 2x2, it's just not happening. You're playing on a more sensible 4x4, but you're going to have a lot of terrain to play that kind of game. But that's a long way away. I'm not going to sort of try and ride off the back of something that's still in its infancy. Open Combat's still in its infancy, so I'm not going to try and then railroad people into having, and here's the sci-fi game, and here's a horse and muskets version, here's this, that, the other. I'm not going to do that. They are there. There are versions and things there and rules in various states of development, but I'm not going to rush them out just to sort of ride off the back of trying to get it all in quickly. It's got to be done in a way where everything's given the time and devotion each thing gets, because then you get a better product at the end of it, and you get a better experience as a player. You have a much better play experience. I mean, I'm really, really keen to do a horse and musket version just so I can play my.
One of the things I think, because Open Combat is this universal system, what it's good at is representing hand-to-hand combat mostly, and that's where the emphasis is, with shooting support in that. And you get a different games dynamic since you have black powder weapons or modern rifles or whatever else, and you want to change the central mechanics to reflect that. So even though it might still be a universal system about, it covers World War I to near future warfare or whatever, or a sci-fi setting or whatever, that those central mechanics have to be tweaked to represent the sort of game.
The environment you're playing in.
So Open Combat would suffer if you try and turn it into, just slap a bit on and turn it into a sci-fi game, or maybe Black Powder is one of those. It's kind of toes,
Black Powder is the real one that's quite on
kind of. It could almost get away with it. Pirates are really popular.
I think early Black Powder would work. I don't know about later. I think the tactics, the way the warfare changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we talked about pirates.
Pirates,
I think would work really well.
Yeah, I think it kind of works there because
I think it is one of the things to bear in mind. Actually, is because although the tactics changed a lot over the years, particularly Black Powder and stuff like that, this is still a skirmish game.
Yeah.
And actually, that idea of massed fire and all that kind of, it's not going to bring in blocks of musketeers into open combat, because that's just not the games that you play with this kind of system, any more than actually you have blocks of English longbowmen. You could do it; it wouldn't be the most exciting game, and I don't think it'd be that effective. But so that transition to Black Powder on the big scale and how that changed war doesn't really apply to the plucky adventurers running around having bar fights and swinging from trees and stuff,
throwing stools at each other.
So that could just about squeak into being an expansion rather than a complete new rule set.
I mean, it's something that I've sort of skirted around with working on the swordsman expansion. Is the fact that swordsmen, you always think of guys with rapiers and usually with a fancy pistol as well, and it's that kind of like, well, I'm not putting gunpowder weapons in this. It's like, I've really got to stop myself from doing it because it changes the context of the game and it's not where it belongs just yet.
I think where it stops working is I know what Gavin's saying, and I do agree with him. But even in small amounts, when you get to like a Napoleonic or a Black Powder era, even if you only had like sort of 5 or 6 men, if they were being charged, they would form a small line, fire together, and then retreat. It was the way they were just trained, and that's the thing that you don't have in these rules, which is the activation of multiple things at once.
Well, there is. There is.
Well, there is, isn't it? Yeah.
There is. Yes. There's the combined actions that you can do. So you can, to a degree, do that. And the combined action mechanic is something that can be expanded on. The reason that it was there was to kind of almost foreshadow, if you like, what could happen with future expansions, depending on what it's talking about. For instance, Shield Wall guys are going to behave in a particular way or whatever. But the
and I completely forgot about the combined actions.
Yeah, there are combined actions. It's quite easy to forget it because open combat is such an open game, and in the environment, there's a lot of guys running around. There's an awful lot of situational stuff developing, but you can actually break down a hard man if you want to have 3 guys shouting together and off they go and attack simultaneously. And similarly, combining fire for missile fire and things. So there's a structure in place for combined actions. You start to look at different eras, and the reason that open combat's the way it is because it's intentionally kept pre-gunpowder, where it is, the bows are incredibly powerful weapons, but back in then, because you could kill a guy from miles away. But this is a skirmish game about guys getting up close. This isn't somebody pot-shotting someone.
It's as much about the story,
right down a hill. Yeah, it's about that story developing on the table.
It's all like colonial period, or you can, I suppose, It's what stories you want to tell and how to do that the most fun.
Yeah,
I think so.
And it's about it's that heroism. It's that toe-to-toe heroism. You can see the eyes of your enemy. You're literally staring into their face when he's swinging an axe at you. That kind of thing.
So that said, people were asking about, were there going to be sort of like rules for explosions and things for dragon breath and stuff. So once you start introducing those kinds of powerful attacks and stuff, then the skin that you put onto it in terms of what's causing that big explosion or whatever is kind of up to you then, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult doing that for 1 point.
It's the downsides, because that's how the system works. It's the pros and the cons. So yes, giving a guy a 2-handed weapon makes him really hard, but actually makes him really unpredictable as well. So it's the combinations of things. I think that you get this, but this.
Yeah, that's the way that. That's how we maintain that 1 point for everything. Is that if you give something quite a power to it, then you've got to take it away somewhere. And whether that is, like for instance, with the exert ability, it gives you an extra action, which is incredibly effective in a game where each model's only got 2 actions. Getting an extra action can be quite a big deal. But by having them have to pay for that. In their, using their mind and their fortitude, which actually has a knock-on effect on the break point of your warband, because that guy's exerting, so he's literally pushing himself a little bit further, so he's not going to be so good later on. You're kind of charging someone to have that flexibility, and it balances itself out, so it keeps it okay to have the flat point system. And like Gav said, the double-handed weapon, a double-handed weapon can be very powerful when he's surrounded by multiple opponents, but equally, really, to get the most out of it, you want to be rolling lots of attack dice. But if you're rolling lots of attack dice, you've got to apply every one of them. There may well be a 1 in it because it's that kind of you're kind of giving with one hand and taking away with another to make sure as the balance remains, so you can keep that flat point system of 1 point for everything, which keeps it really clean when it comes to people building their own forces, because everybody knows what they're doing. It's very easy. There's no kind of little complicated calculations going on.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of a way of doing a blast weapon. I might try it out before I tell you about it.
It's going to be an exploding ball, isn't it?
No, I was literally thinking you could just go on the 1 point thing. You could almost do it like you buy a blast weapon for the more points you spend on it, the more effective it becomes, but it still becomes a one-shot weapon. So if you spend 5 points on it, you can lob it.
Yeah, I mean,
you get a 2.5-inch blast or something. You get half an inch. You spend.
Yeah.
And once it's gone, it's gone.
You're accidentally crossing into sort of some of the things that tucked away in sort of general magic sort of abilities that are going to be coming through in the later things. So I'm not going to say too much.
Moving on.
Well, can we drag this conversation kicking and screaming back to the Kickstarter?
Oh no.
We're meandering again.
It's so simple. There's not that much more to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it's...
I do have one question, which is kind of, again, I suppose we kind of touched on it. You've mentioned something in passing. Obviously, one of the implications of putting something in print, whereas before, when you were looking at expansions in a digital format, you were very free because all your expansions continue to be in digital format. So you don't have to worry about things like, well, hang on a second, the expansion has to be so big because you have to justify printing costs.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can do you can do it like a 6-page PDF as an expansion, for example. At the point where we have a print version of the rules, therefore any expansions you've got to have a print version of the expansions. How does that limit your development moving forward?
In a sense, there are two strands to that, actually, is that you don't necessarily have to release every expansion in print straight away. Ideally, you would. Ideally, you'd have a print version and a digital version, and you'd offer the bundle. The other option is, particularly for sort of some of the things that may be a little obscure, that people really want, but you actually think that that market is probably quite small. You can still produce it and maybe release it as a digital, and later you could collect things together and do an omnibus, and actually have the collected such and such this expansion.
Open Combat Annual again.
Open Combat Annual, yeah. You do like you club things together over 12 months,
journal or
whatever it is, and you release a kind of collected edition that will have multiple expansions in it into a printed one. And you could potentially do it that way, so that you don't necessarily have to go to print instantly with every single expansion. But like you say, things that could be digital, you could be releasing things digitally. People can be playing with them. People who want to use them can buy them digitally and play with them. And then further down the line, if those ones haven't been put into print yet, you could then club them together as an annual or however it was. So there are multiple ways of doing it, and from a traditional sense of everything being printed all of the time. That's really a lesson in sort of quantity of print control versus what your unit costs are and all that kind of stuff, and that's an internal kind of weighing up your sales figures and all that kind of stuff, really. So it's one of those things that I can only come to when we get there, if we get there. It's literally if we. At the moment, we're still talking in ifs because you can't count any chickens basically until you've got them off the table. You can't get them. But at the moment, it's lots of ifs and buts. I mean, in an ideal world, the book will be printed and we'll be out there in the marketplace, and the growth off the back of the exposure that Open Combat has got over the next 3 weeks will allow a degree of inward investment, if you like, in future product development, so that there can be sort of a selection of things in print that are instantly in print, and then you can gauge off the back of those initial ones what kind of growth you're going to see from them and how you're going to handle releases later. There are so many different ways, and obviously the print on demand is always an option. That's the thing; it's always still there as an option, particularly for the smaller run things. The smaller things you can always go print on demand. There's no harm in that. I'm not against just because I've decided to go for a Kickstarter. I mean, this is very much a There's a lot of reasons for doing it, which I've already gone through. But it's that getting that quality product as your core product was very important for me. Is having a very good quality central core product, and then the expansions again. There won't be hardbacks. There clearly won't be hardbacks because the page count won't be anywhere near what you'd need for that. And the print cost would, the retail cost would reflect that for physical expansion. So
I think for a lot of things, it's worth bearing in mind that, because it won't be a one-size-fits-all. Some supplements, it could be a campaign supplement, which is going to be 32 pages and is worth printing, and we know it's going to be popular because it's this, that, or the other. And like I said, another one's going to be in 8 pages. It's going to be digital only. But even ones that are, you might even have a 16 or 20-page printed supplement, which you print, but you let it go out of print and going to compile it into something much bigger later. Yeah. Because again, it's stock levels. People, once you print stuff into stores and things, do they need 20 books on the shelf?
Yeah, and it's, kind of stuff. And you can work with the pre-order system through your own website at that point. When you're going to be going to print with something, you can set up the pre-orders, and you can gauge your print runs off the back of the pre-orders as well. So there are lots of business ways of handling it, if you like. We're not going to let anything get in the way of actually developing things that we think are going to be cool and people are going to enjoy playing, because we've got so many things to add. And how that actually gets released, we can come to that when we can work the numbers out with actual real figures that are in front of us, rather than at the moment pie in the sky, well, it's going to be this many number of pages, maybe. It's until you actually start to get to that point, you can't really you can't make any hard and fast decisions that are on something that's still fairly amorphous at the moment.
And Carl's got to paint all the figures and take all the photos.
Take all the photos. Take lots of photos and become a bottleneck again and slow everything down. No, it's I mean, there's a lot going on. And there's a lot of things that we want to do. At the moment, it's all very focused on getting the book into print and keeping it focused so that, the number of backers is the key for us. So it's expanding that kind of awareness amongst people across wherever they are. I mean, it's one of those things we've talked about it, myself and Gav talked about it recently when we were going around Hammerhead in Newark at the weekend, is that a lot of people play at home and it's just them and a mate. And how do you reach those people? Because not everybody uses the internet, and not everybody, is always aware of what's going on in the wider context of the hobby world. We're always little niches within niches, and I think a lot of wargame shows will get people going to them that won't necessarily spend
never go to a forum or
never go to a forum. They're not interested in going to a forum. It's or news sites. They may not be that kind of person. So it's having a physical product to be at shows with is your way of reaching those people. I mean, obviously, we're in War Games Illustrated in the March issue. I think it's the issue that's out at the moment, and that kind of exposure again is really useful. I mean, people talk about digital media killing physical. It doesn't. It's just another media. It's the reach that you get through physical and the reach that you get through digital. So there is a crossover.
A very digital market, a very physical market like toy soldiers.
Toy soldiers, yeah. We're very into that tangible kind of touchy-feely kind of hobby. It's everything. You're moving physical toys around. So it's there's a crossover between digital and physical, and people who gain their information from that kind of perspective. So again, from our perspective, getting physical products is important because it reaches different markets sometimes. Some people are only interested in digital copies, and I've had emails from people saying that, not interested in the book, but I really want the digital copy.
Why aren't we getting our expansions?
Yeah, and where's the expansions that you said you were going to do? And it's like, I'm really sorry. They've gone on hold at the moment because I'm getting this sorted out, but it's all part of, all the elements together help move the business forward, and it all has to sort of keep moving along, and I'm kind of juggling a lot of things at the moment to keep, which is why I'm having to keep things focused, because there's only so many things you can juggle. So just keep it focused, make sure as the product that you're working on is absolutely the business, and then move on to the next one, and make it the business. So that's the reason everything's so tightly focused at the moment. And stretch goals wise, it'll go through the print levels to make the product as good as we can make it, and then we start to move into the sort of the additional things like potentially additional content, or potentially custom etched dice, or breakpoint trackers, things like that. which people have expressed an interest in. But we need to make sure we've got enough backers to make sure the book's there before we start to look at that kind of stuff. So it's, it's. I can understand people's kind of itching and excitement to have extra stuff, but at the same time, I want to make sure as I deliver what they're after in the first place, rather than kind of expanding too quickly.
It reminds me a lot. People always ask me, particularly with writing for the Black Library and things, saying, would you ever do a story on X? And the answer is, at some point, yes. It's more a question of when. And pretty much the expansions and stuff. Yeah. Would you like to do this? Would you like? Yes, we'd love to do all of that. At some point, depending on all these other things that everybody else wants to do. Yeah. And the only thing we can really say is, why don't you ever go doing it yourself first and sharing it with everyone? And
I mean that's the thing, that we will be watching what people are doing, and listening and hearing. It doesn't necessarily mean we'll kind of run with things, but because we've got an awful lot of things ourselves in development, but we are very interested in what other people do, because anyone can have a good idea. It's like, I know we know within the context of open combat and the future of open combat how things fit together, but anyone can have good ideas. That's the thing. So, and being accessible. I mean, that's one of the things with Second Thunder is the fact, I want to have that accessibility of being able to talk to the players directly rather than it feeling like there's a company that doesn't care. It's not like that, because the company is just me at the moment and then Gav as well. So it's a much more personal kind of relationship between the designer and the player. So the feedback's much more immediate. It doesn't go through a filter before it goes either way. You just get it straight off. That's the other thing. So on the forums, on the Second Thunder forums, when people have been asking questions, you get it directly from me. And if I get it wrong, it's because I've forgotten what I've written. I have to go scurry. I mean, luckily it's always been right, because sometimes I've said something when I've been on my phone, when I've been out and about, and I've replied, and then I've had to go back and check what I've just said. Have I got that right? Was that the right version I've just told them? That's the worst part of it, I guess.
Well, at time of recording, here we are. We're you're 85% funded.
Oh, really? Oh, it's gone up.
It's gone up.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, just to get there, Sam.
It is looking good.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's in about 4 or 5 days. So that's. I mean, like you say, for a Kickstarter, was very focused and very tightly focused in that. It's not giving all the bells and whistles away. It's I'm really pleased with that progress. It may seem quite slow to some people from a what other companies are doing perspective, but from our perspective, it's really good, because it's slow and steady growth, which is good.
Well, and pretty much, like I say, it's a good number of people out there. Hopefully, will be playing the game. They'll be seen at the club. They'll be seen at a store or whatever, and it will keep going from there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the people that have been getting it and downloading it have been popping into the comments and saying, "Oh, I've played the first game and it was great." Blah 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 blah. And they're saying what they've been doing. It's absolutely fantastic seeing it and seeing that they're enjoying it straight away. So that is one of the benefits, I guess, from this Kickstarter, is that what we're sort of selling in inverted commas, what we're trying to achieve, is actually moving an existing product into print. So it's not sort of trying to sell an idea or a concept of something that doesn't exist yet. This is a physical, proven, a proven game and system that people have been enjoying for the last 6 months or whatever it is. So it's already proven, and it's more a case of moving it onto a next level. So it's a proven system and people are enjoying it. So it's not like we're trying to just sell a concept and it's like, well, you'll get what you get in 6 months' time, whatever. It's like, this is it. It exists. You can play it already. You can try it. You can buy the PDF separately from Second Thunder's website now and play it. And that's as far as you could go if you wanted to, and you don't have to commit to anything. But ideally, we'd like people to back the physical edition and allow us to move this business forward. Because I mean, this is the thing. Once the Kickstarter is completed, hopefully it's moved through a few stretch goals and got us to where we need to be. Then we can sort of look, and we'll be having the conversations about supplements, and we can be moving things on then. So, I mean, at the moment in this early stages, it's tying up a lot of my time. Is the kind of sort of keeping on top of things, really, and keeping communication basically, and managing that kind of communication and responding to lots of different streams that are coming through to me. I think it'll probably settle down into a little kind of steady flow for a little while over the next couple of days, probably, and then I can keep with the updates and sort of covering things as time goes by. But hopefully, another few weeks we'll be happy smiley heading into printed edition, which would be brilliant, and really looking forward to everybody getting it as well, at that point, because it'd be absolutely fantastic seeing loads of other people playing it. And that's it. It's expanding the player base.
Getting a name in the book.
Huh? Everyone? I haven't really thought about that, but I suppose
it's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've got my name in a few books.
You've got your name in a few books.
Yeah, Kickstarters.
Yeah. And Kickstarters. Oh, right. I was just thinking you've had your name on the front of a few books as well.
I was about to say that.
It's on the side of the Cthulhu box, actually. It's really nice. Not in big.
Hey, we were just pleased to have our names on the front and back of the Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, I know. I did have to ask you to check that because I knew I didn't want to be using your name in vain.
No money changed hands for that endorsement.
No, it was literally.
No, you're right. It hasn't. Coming back to that.
And yet.
So I guess if we come over to Cardiff at some point for one of these shows or whatever at Firestorm, I'm gonna have to buy you a pint. Then I might.
Well, there is a bar there.
Is there? Oh dear. Yeah. And then actually we might bump into you down at Salute, Neil, if you're going to be down at Salute. So
what was it?
I still haven't bought my ticket yet, but it's just one of those things I haven't worked out whether I'm going to be making it down there because I'm not showing there because it's that kind of so far in advance when they book up for Salute. I'm probably going to get in touch with the organisers because depending on how things go, if we've got a physical book, this time next year I'll probably be looking at being at Salute if possible, but. And all the other shows, because that's the other thing, is that going out to all the other shows that you get up and down, across on continental Europe as well. There's quite a lot of shows that go on, isn't there? So all of that's up in the air potential. And the States, there's a lot of huge conventions in the States that I've never been to, which if I had something physical and there were players over there, it'd be cool to sort of take a trip over and meet them, and sort of take over and play a few games.
There's a conversation we're going to have in a minute.
Yeah. Oh, are we having that conversation in a minute? Oh, right. Okay. Is that when my mysterious conversation another good idea goes into the library of good ideas that we've got,
which is currently thicker than the book.
Picking your Saxons.
Yeah, we'll try to. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we're waffling. Sorry, doing it again. Yeah, we are actually getting a game in after we've had this conversation. So
I was about to say that.
A short one.
Nah, it doesn't take me long to beat you, mate.
Luckily it's a game of open combat, so it doesn't take very long.
Yeah.
Oh, good plug there, good plug.
Yeah. You can put it in your lunch break or after a episode of Meeples and Miniatures.
Yeah, which that's something I haven't sort of moved into actually, is about lunch breaks, but that's one way into the...
Maybe not.
Yeah, I won't go into that. I'll stop. Yeah, stop. Stop us now! Come on, ring that alarm! Stop! We're going to make it 2.5 hours ago.
This was a 20-minute.
This was a 20-minute one, wasn't it? We were supposed to be doing.
Yes.
I'm just making a sandwich. Hang on a sec.
Yeah, but yes, just while I'm here, actually, I've just got to say thank you to everyone that supported the Kickstarter already, and also bought the digital edition. That's the other thing. Take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody who's done that because it's a big deal. It might not seem anything to people when you're buying it and you get your product and you go off and play it and you're enjoying it, but in the context of your wider hobby. But from our perspective, it's huge because obviously every sale we get of the digital edition at the moment and every pledge we get is moving their business further along. So it's at the moment this was a real kind of infancy period of the business. So
and I think the forums are great actually, because there's some really dedicated people on there who just really picked up the game. And when you design a game like Open Combat, which basically says, hey, you can do what you want, and everyone turns around and goes, huh? It's really nice to see a bunch of people who kind of get it and are just doing, cool stuff, whether it's historical, whether it's a bit of a fantasy bent, but but actually there's
Alan on his blog who's doing it with historical stuff, and I love reading his blog when he's done other things. Actually,
it's a reality. Then it's the same between writing a book and then talking to somebody who's read it.
Yeah,
it's different. We've invented any number of games using Open Combat, but to actually see other people are actually doing it.
Yeah.
And they're painting toy soldiers and actually planning toy soldier purchases based on it.
Yeah.
And getting very excited about the whole thing is just cool. That's the whole point of doing it.
Yeah.
Sharing this idea.
Yeah, it is, and the forums it's a great place to see and roll around ideas as well. That's the other thing is that this is a kind of I keep using the term infancy, but it's very much the kind of first stages of something, and it's really positive at the moment as well.
So all the hipsters will say they knew us.
Yeah, they knew us when.
They knew us, but they knew us before the Kickstarter, man.
Yeah, we were posting before then. Yeah, but yes, it's that kind of exchange of ideas and things, and like I say, that direct contact is really useful. But also just watching what people are doing, and it's from our perspective, it's very inspiring seeing what other people do, because we can have all the ideas under the sun, but it's in our context, if you like. And similarly, every idea that you guys have when you're playing, it's in the context of your games there and then, but when it's shared on a forum, that kind of thing, it kind of inspires people to do other things, and that's that's how the creative process works. It's that interchange of ideas, and as I've said previously, that's what this hobby's about. It's a creative hobby. We're making terrain. We're making, we're painting figures. We're coming up with ideas of armies, or forces or war bands. I mean, in open combat context, you're creating the actual personas, your profiles of your guys. So it's a creative process all round. So that, the forum and the kind of community, if you like, aspect of it, and the commentary within the Kickstarter and all of that kind of stuff. It's all that kind of crossover of ideas that you're seeing, that all of it's relevant. That's the thing. Even if it's things that individually we might not agree with, that there's going to be other people that might have an idea that spark from it. So it's all good stuff. It's this creative process. I've been in the creative industries for a very long time now, too many years, and that's one of the things that gets lost sometimes when things get overly commercialized and it becomes overly based on the shifting boxes. And it's that there can be a danger of losing that creative spark, which is what we're keen to sort of maintain throughout everything. So it's like allowing that kind of creative kind of spark to kind of keep firing throughout the experience. So anyway, I'm waffling again. God, stop me, please.
I was going to say, and at what point can we get a word in edgeways here?
It's just, I don't know. Yeah.
Actually, guys, I don't know if you saw that at some point during that, at some point in the last 20 minutes, Mr. Hobbs has been shamelessly tweeting about what we're doing at the moment, using the hashtag herding cats.
That's like getting the kids in the car at my house. That is herding cats. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm used to living in chaos and I just can't stop myself from going on.
I'm not saying it yet.
Let's just say I've had plenty of time.
Anyway,
blog post.
Yeah. He's written a whole supplement now. He's going to send it to us probably.
No, I'm just looking at the Otherworld miniatures again. Which is what I know. As soon as I start thinking about open combat, I go straight to Otherworld and think.
They're absolutely gorgeous. They are gorgeous. I looked at that.
Apparently they were at Hammerhead, weren't they?
They were, and blimey, it was a beautiful stand. Absolutely. The painted figures they've got in the cabinet, if anybody's going to any of the shows in the UK and Otherworld are there, blimey, just go there and stand and have a look at those painted cabinets because they're absolutely incredible. They're absolutely gorgeous stuff. It actually reminded me, going back some years, but when I was working at GW, it reminded me of standing in where the cabinets were at the heavy metal team, where you just see loads of gorgeous stuff, and it used to be just fantastic, just standing staring at it.
Hammerhead was the first, talking about, herding cats and stuff, because I think it was the first time we both went to a show and only bought terrain.
Yeah.
No, actually bought terrain, which is what we always go to shows to buy and never end up buying, because we end up going to stands like Otherworld and then just buying loads of stuff.
We nearly cracked though. We nearly
didn't
cracked.
get any 10mm Hittites.
No. I nearly cracked and got some. I think it was 10mm Barbarians. Nearly cracked.
Oh, that's true.
And 6mm Romans. I nearly went for 6mm. A couple of things I nearly cracked on. Yeah.
I've been really good. I haven't bought anything unusual recently.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Is that term of recently kind of relative? Like, I haven't bought anything since the weekend.
Officer.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think at that point is passing quickly on.
Well, we have to wrap up now, and you guys got to go and get your game in.
I got a secret conversation that he's going to tell me about.
Yeah.
Indeed. It's about disappearing off to the States.
I'm intrigued by that myself now.
Well, I couldn't tell him before the show.
No, because I was late getting here, wasn't I? Yeah.
Well, no, we'd just be talking about it.
Oh, right.
We'd be talking about it live on air. Anyway.
Yeah, I see, yes. Move on, quick. No, Open Combat Kickstarter,
Right,
please
thanks for having us.
Please pledge.
Yeah, and in the meantime, enjoy Adepticon.
So receive, yeah.
No, there's no foreshadowing here. There's no foreshadowing here. No, we haven't even had the conversation. No.
Well, what's happening, Carl, is Gav's off to America for a month, and by the time he gets back, he wants all his work finished.
Yes, I'll have to write a novel.
Yeah, what do you know about Dark Angels?
Not as much as I should, I guess.
They were black, but now they're green.
Yeah.
No, these ones are the black ones. That's right.
Yeah.
Ah, proper ones.
Oh my God.
Proper Dark.
Yes.
Dark Angels from a proper pot.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, we digress again.
Thanks very much for having us on. It was very much a case of when you mentioned, would you like to just have a little 20-minute segment? I thought, ooh. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I knew at the point where I said let's have a 20-minute segment. I'm thinking, that's ever going to happen.
You could ask what the URL is, and then that'll fill 20 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do our own podcast soon, and that's what we're going to have to do. Do our own, and then we're not screwing up your time and giving you more editing jobs.
We'll bring you onto ours.
Yeah, and you can talk. Yeah.
I tell you what, I did send Neil a message earlier, just before this, going, so is this going to be a 20-minute segment for our existing podcast, or is it going to be a brand new one? And he came back with, it's going to be a brand new one.
Yeah. I kind of went that. What was the thing? Was that? I think. The thought was it may have been adding into the existing show.
Yeah.
It ain't.
It was like knowing how the last one went. I think. I think we got two hopes of that. One of them called Bob. Yes. Yeah.
In a sense, that's probably a good thing actually, because then whichever show you were doing, you were thinking about sliding it in, they get all the airtime themselves, where it belongs. Because I like listening to these, I like listening to them. So whichever game you were talking about, they get their airtime, without actually us nudging in at the end and sort of screwing it up.
Yeah, just a special. There you go. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I think, guys, it's been great to have you on. Thank you for coming on and giving us part two of the Carl and Gav show.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for the time.
Yeah,
and, sorry, I was doing the nitty gritty kind of boring under the bonnet businessy talk a lot. But
no. It's. I mean, as I say, it's one of those. It's one of those. Don't look behind the curtain sort of jobs. But actually, at times, it's good to kind of have a look behind it and see. Okay, well, this is what's going on, and it's as good to hear. Not only what is going on, but why something is happening.
Yeah.
And it at least it means it puts people in the pictures, because I mean, as we've said, people get so used to Kickstarters winning in particular ways.
Yeah.
And so when things happen that are outside of their expectations, you've either got to manage their expectations, or people kind of going, well, what's going on, and what are these guys playing at? Don't they want my money?
It's funny because you do get that impression. I mean, I get that impression sometimes with the way you get those kind of comments that people are asking for extra stuff. And it's like, well, from a business, of course, businesses want money, but it's got to be at the right time and the right context and with the right kind of numbers at the time. It's like there's so many costs that are involved in doing things that you kind of have to make sure everything's done controlled.
What kind of talk is that, Gav? Come on, it's a Kickstarter. We want more. Where's our stuff?
I think it's very simple, because a game is for life, not just for Kickstarter. And if you want it to be there...
No, sorry, that's crazy talk, man.
I mean, if you want to just buy stuff and stick it under the bed and then nobody's going to be playing it 3 months later, that's fine. But if you want a game system that's going to be played year on year, then you have to do it properly.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing for the last 25 years.
Well, I know.
Put things through
No,
that's why I've been going wrong.
Well, we all have. But, somebody else has been making the money.
And that was your turn.
I can feel an editing moment coming on from Neil here. I can really feel an editing moment.
He's got the cough button on, it's all right. He's just swearing his head off. What are they going on about now? Chop them up.
Neil who actually filled up a whole room plus a shed.
Well, I mean, just all I would say is just read the next edition of Miniature War Games, and you'll see my entire take on this whole project process, and and all the stuff to do with the amount of stuff that you store under the because it's all there.
We're all so similar, aren't we? It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're all just the same.
Yeah.
That's why we all get on so well.
Yeah. Will we actually get round salute if we bump into each other? Dearie me, no.
Well, no, we can meet up for a beer afterwards and do it properly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, we don't want to take up any more of your time, Neil. I'm sorry for on it. That time it wasn't me either. That was you and Mike waffling about.
That I thought you meant the whole thing.
No, just saying, you can't blame me for waffling. Oh, just stop me.
And he actually managed to write a 48-page rule book. That's why it's 60, because Carl's rewriting it.
No, that's not true.
You bad man, Gav.
I know. I am on the side of A4. Anyway.
Indeed, whatever happened to that single side of A4 rules, I don't know.
Yeah, I've still got it, actually. I've still got it, but there's
You can do a pledge for that.
You can have the original version. Yeah.
I gotta say, trouble is you never sell it in hardback, would you?
You can slab it.
Piece of card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be crazy. Actually, it got a broken rule in it. Actually, that was added. It had the armor rule. That was very broken.
That's true. Actually,
that wasn't mine.
For the armor rule back.
That wasn't mine either. That was.
No.
I broke it, but you wrote it.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, as I say, guys, it's been great to have you on. Thank you, thank you much for giving us insight into the Kickstarter, and all the very best with it. It's probably the kiss of death, but I really can't see it not funding at this point. Given we've still got 19 days left.
Yeah, it's about 19. It ends on the 21st of March. Actually, I think it's about 10 p.m. UK time. I think.
We can hope that they don't listen to this and think that pair of clowns would not give everyone withdraws that
What do they know? Oh dear, it's incredibly exciting. It's incredibly frightening as well, because you put yourself out there and you put everything into it, and you just hope that you've done it right. So
yeah,
we'll just we'll see how it goes, and if people have got questions,
whatever happens.
Yeah, Open Combat continues. Whatever happens, Open Combat. Whatever happens with the Kickstarter, Open Combat continues. Whether it drops back into digital releases and then moves into print on demand, but ideally we want to do it this way to move the business along to the next level. So, and if people have got questions after they've heard this, then either hop into the forum, hop onto the comments or whatever, and get a hold of us that way.
Okay, great, guys. Well, as I say, thanks for your time. All the very best over the next 19 days, and as I say, we'll look forward to seeing the results of the Kickstarter and what you got in store for us. And I suppose from a show point of view, if not before, we'll catch up at Salute, and we can either celebrate or
yeah, one of us will be buying somebody a beer, won't they? Yeah.
Cheers, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us. Yeah,
cheers, guys.
That's the thing.
Okay, thanks for having us. Thanks for coming on, and enjoy your game for the rest of the day.
Cheers.
Excellent, bye.
Cheers. Well, not a lot else to say, really. Hope you enjoyed the recording that we had with Carl and Gav. As we joked at the time, yet again, it's one of those shows where we ask a question and then struggle to get any other word in edgeways. It's always great having Carl and Gav on there. Yeah, they're so enthusiastic, and it's great chatting to them. So I really appreciate the insight. Actually, we've talked a lot about Kickstarters, but we haven't really ever got too far into the whole nitty gritty and back end of it. So I hope you've actually found that whole kind of background look at thoughts behind why Kickstarter and the way this particular Kickstarter is working. I hope you found it interesting. All that remains to be said, well, thank you to Carl and Gav and for Mike for joining me on the show. And go take a look at the Kickstarter. Or go take a look at Open Combat. It is a really good game. Some people have asked how is it compared to Song of Blades and Heroes and that series of games. For me, it's right up there with it. If I was asked which one I would prefer, to be honest, I'm really not sure. They are both very, very good systems. Songs of Blades and Heroes is a little bit more prescriptive. But Open Combat is very well done, and as I say, especially with this thing of, well, basically you can stack your own stuff up. It really makes things. It really puts the ball in your court. If you want to know any more about the game itself, then I suggest you check out our podcast on it, which, if I remember right, I think it was something like 136 or something like that, 137. Anyway, one of our recent episodes. Can't remember off the top of my head as I'm recording this, but go and check out our review of Open Combat and our chat with Carl and Gav all about that, if you haven't heard it already. All that remains to be said is thank you very much for listening. As I say, hope you found it useful. We'll talk to you very soon. So until then, take care everybody, happy gaming, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you want to know more about Meeples and Miniatures, there are several things you can do. First of all, you can visit the website at www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. If you want to contact the show at all, you can email me at neil@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. You can follow the show on Twitter. Simply look for M&M Podcast or click the follow us on Twitter button from the website. We also have a group on Facebook. That's the Meeples and Miniatures Podcast Fan Club. Again, follow the link from the website. And finally, if you want to help us to support the show, you can always donate to the podcast by clicking the PayPal button on the donate page, again found on the website. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you've really enjoyed the show. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.